Watkins Glen, 14 laps. Let's survive. SimMagic finally gave me a discount code. Please go use it if you need anything. Jesus Christ, that voice crack. Luke MANSKE Racing and Performance will also help you with any other sim racing needs that you have. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. I'm going to walk you guys through qualifying, also so you can see the layout that we're running this week, which is the full layout. Last time we were here, we were running like the super short layout, which was a bit memey and a lot of death. Not that this won't be death, but I want you guys to see the entire track and just to have an idea of it before we go into the race. Braking at the 300 there, nudging right into that camber and riding out until it's basically just your right tire left on that curb, cut across at the end of that curb and get really close to this one on the right, cut across to the one on the left, basically just keeping the wheel as straight as possible. You want to do as little turning as possible. You're carrying so much speed up there. Any amount of scrubbing at that speed is going to be detrimental to your tires. Braking at like the 450, 400, and then cutting really close to this curb, getting on throttle right after that second apex and powering all of the way out. Hold it tight around here, a lot of camber on the inside and just less distance to travel. Get on throttle as early as possible. The car will push out, but you can just kind of ride back on track. Braking really early for this next corner, not really a great brake marker, and you want to turn in really early, deceivingly early as well. Somehow it works. That corner still confuses me to this day. There's just a lot more grip on the inside. Braking at the 200 and cutting for a semi-late apex. You could probably cut in a bit earlier than I am here. This is kind of a good time to say that the track is like 50 degrees Celsius and I haven't driven this car in 4 weeks, so it's been a little while. Braking at the 200 here, and interesting corner again because it's not actually as tight as you think. You can ride out a lot on the exit. Braking before the crest here, so where there's a lot of compression, and then you're lightly braking all of the way around. Also can get on throttle really early there, ride it out to the edge, kind of turning and braking around the 100, just a little bit of a brake, like literally 3 or 4% pressure to get the nose in, and then braking just before the edge of that wall on the left side. And that'll pretty much be a full lap as you try not to hit the wall on that exit. Crossing the line for a 47.7, which was pretty good, I think. I don't know. Like I said, this was my first time racing, so I didn't know where it was going to put me. It ended up putting me in P6. And I think it's important that you understand that Matthew and Zhao are in P2 and P3, and these are the two guys who got into an accident in the previous race and killed everybody, including Joey. We also have this guy starting in P5, who's going to be a huge player, and then Cameron Dick starting in P8, who I want to give a special shout out because he's been doing coaching with Bernardo FARIA, who has a coaching service specifically for the Porsche Cup. He does the setups, he gives extremely in-depth lap guides, like 30-minute lap guides, 20-minute lap guides. I'll leave a link in the description. It's also just a cool community, and Bernardo is 9K. He knows what he's doing. And look how close the qualifying was. P1 is pretty far ahead, but everybody else from P2 down to like P9 is like a tenth apart. So it's going to be super close, and as the green flag flies, we are underway with hopefully a decent launch. It looks like we got a better one than Zhao. Car number 11 starting in P5, still side by side with us. Cameron has a really good view of watching us go too wide into T1, and I'm going to be pretty reserved here. I saw that there was space behind car number 11, so I'll remain in P6. Cameron is also going to tuck back into P8, so we all stay in a straight line pretty much. I think Zhao and Matthew both lost a position, but other than that, everybody stayed the same. So P4 jumped to P2, P2 and 3 fell down to 3 and 4, and then it's the same onwards, backwards from there. So my attitude going into this race was an interesting one. It was one that I don't have often. I typically feel like I can be pretty aggressive on trying to move forward if I'm not already in the top 4, top 5, around there, which I'm just out of at the moment. But I had a really patient attitude towards this race. I think in large part because I saw Matthew and Zhao kill each other in that last race, which I was spectating because I hadn't done a race in a very long time and I wanted to know what I was getting into. So I watched that race, saw the death, and was pretty much expecting that same thing to repeat here. So I wanted to keep my distance from Zhao and Matthew. I had also seen countless clips and footage throughout the week of people just killing each other all over the place. So surviving was my goal. I have seen so much death this week from people sending me clips, and I just did not want to be in one of those or involved in anything. Now, the line is staying pretty consistent all of the way from P1 down to like P15, P16. Everybody's pretty close to each other. Cameron, still in P8, is about to look to make a move up to P7 and be the first one to really shake things up since the race has started, as P7 actually just about goes into the wall, lifts off to avoid that, and that opens up space on the inside for Cameron on the front straight, crossing onto lap 2, and he's side by side into turn 1. I would say the inside has a huge advantage in this scenario because you can use a ton of that curbing, and that outside car doesn't really know how much of that curbing you're going to use, so it just gives you a lot of space. Side by side now, he forces car number 6 with car number 5 as they're fighting for P8 behind him and up the S's. That can be a really difficult situation, so it's a good getaway for Cameron as he finds himself now with a little bit of breathing room. Not as much as I have, though. I have a second back to Cameron. The slipstream extends to about 1.5 seconds in these cars on this track, so the likelihood is that he will catch us, as there will probably be some sort of battling or condensing of the group. And speaking of the devil, car number 18 botching the end of the bus stop. That throws Matthew out wide as he can't really go directly into the back of him, opens up an opportunity for Zhao to catch him. The whole group is compressing at this point, and Zhao into the downhill left-hander at the start of the boot is actually going to send it up the inside of Matthew, who touches car number 18, sends him flying to the outside, and that is one car down. So we're up into P5 now, and everybody is condensing just like I said would happen. The leader is beginning to pull a bit of a gap. It looks like over a second from him to P2 at the moment, and I'm sitting back because, like I said, I saw these guys kill each other. Somebody has just died around them, and I figured that there was going to be more, or I was hoping there was going to be more because I wanted free positions. Cameron is now pulling up behind me. My goal is to kind of keep about a 3 or 4 tenth gap in either direction ahead and behind me so that I can just be able to make my own decisions freely and not be forced into a decision by the car ahead or the car behind. If you're too close, it throws you into a situation kind of like what happened with Matthew out of the bus stop, where you're forced to choose a side because they make a mistake, or if you're too close to the car behind, they can obviously make a move on you, which forces you to defend or to give up a position at some point. And I wanted to have room to play with. Now, that was a pretty big ask. Coming out of the bus stop on lap 3, and all of that room to play with is basically gone. So I'm trying to manage keeping Cameron behind me and not wrecking into Mauricio ahead, who was going, he wasn't really off the pace, but he was defending a lot, and I felt like I hadn't done anything to make him think I was going to make a move, so I assume he's just kind of preventing me making a move in the first place. But I had been very, very passive with him, lifting early for the bus stop and most big braking zones and kind of falling off of him. This would be a trend that you see throughout the race, him defending, and defending very, very hard. But for the time being, I was fine with it. I was just trying to stay behind him. I did do a little peep to the inside there to see if it would throw him off. It didn't really, but that was about the most aggressive that I would be with Mauricio. I was being very, very passive. I wanted to stay safe. I wanted to keep my SR, which sounds stupid, and I have always preached on this channel that I don't care about SR so much, which I still don't really, but I am currently at 4.03. You need to be above 4.0 in B class, which I currently am by 0.03, to drive IMSA and drive GT3 cars, which I would like to do sometime soon. So if I basically get into any accident, I won't be able to drive IMSA and I'll get demoted. That was kind of on my mind, which is not a fun thing to have on your mind. Cameron is constantly right on my tail. He was very quick around here, and I was playing a pretty specific game plan of trying to back Cameron up in corners like the exit of the bus stop or in the middle of the bus stop, places where he couldn't really pass me. I was trying to go just a bit slower to make him go a bit slower so that I had a bigger gap towards Mauricio, so that Mauricio was not defending, and thus opening up an opportunity for Cameron to get past one or both of us. Now on to lap 5, we're going to ride on with Matthew, who's chasing down Zhao. They've pulled away from Mauricio, myself, and Cameron by quite a bit, so they had room to play with, probably more room to play with than they have had all race, which is more important for Matthew than it is for Zhao, I think. It's equally important for them, but it puts Matthew on the attack as he is able to try and make a move, and if it doesn't work out, he doesn't end up losing P3. Maybe he just stays in P3. And into the bus stop too wide, neither of them want to give space, especially Zhao, who I think that was on Zhao. They both die. And I go flying across the grass, trying to avoid not only Mauricio, but also Matthew sliding backwards across the track. That did give me a 1 second slowdown. So now I'm backing up Cameron. I'm trying not to. I actually moved to the right as soon as I can to let him through, but that did still pull him off of Mauricio a bit. I am still serving my slowdown, which it's hard to explain how they work in iRacing, but you have to give up a full second. I thought that I had given up a full second, but apparently not. So going into the next corner, I have to brake about 100 meters early to get rid of the last tenth or two that was left on my slowdown. And by this point, it's done. I'm clear. I'm ready to go back racing. Still in P5, so we net gained 0 positions. The 2 cars behind us, thank God, are fighting, so that's going to keep them just far enough back that we're not under pressure from behind. So we're kind of at the back of this group that is now Aiden, which is me, Austin, which is the guy ahead of me, Cameron, the guy in P3, and then Mauricio in P2. The leader is totally gone, but it seems like we have a pretty good opportunity this race to move up to P2. I felt confident in my pace overall, and as a group, I honestly felt like we could pull away from Jonathan, who's that car behind us in P6. So I was hoping that we would just, you know, separate ourselves completely, become an isolated unit of 4, and then we could pick our way through the group one by one that way. And from this point onwards, this race would be a kettle pot that was just boiling and boiling and boiling and waiting to explode because nobody was checking on it. Everybody was just letting it condense. On to lap number 7, and Mauricio, that car in P2, he's going to be doing some cheeky maneuvers here as he's flying all of the way out, not quite to the point where you get a slowdown, but far enough out that he is gaining probably, I would say, a tenth to a tenth and a half, because he doesn't have to close off that exit at all. So he is full sending. He's taking the incident point that you get for going off track and keeping his speed up, which you could say is abusing the system, and to some point it is, because, you know, you're not supposed to go out there. You are actively taking a penalty point. But it's smart racing too, and I understand it. It's also a known thing on this track that if you want to catch somebody or break slip, you would do that. So I was kind of expecting that Cameron would do that at some point too, because if Zhao is, or not Zhao, excuse me, Mauricio, the car in P2, is continuing to do that same thing, then Cam's only opportunity to catch him is going to be to follow him. But Cameron does not do that. He is going to maintain the safe route while Mauricio continues to exploit that off track. And that will continue to keep Mauricio safe into the bus stop. He has no slipstream, so it's crucial that he saves that time on turn 1, because you'll see just how much overspeed Cameron gains going towards the bus stop. If Mauricio was not doing that, Cameron would have the opportunity to go side by side into the bus stop every single lap, which I don't really see a problem with what Mauricio is doing. However, later on in this race, Mauricio will do something that I do see a problem with, and I think everybody in the lobby saw a problem with, but we're not there yet. So Cameron is chasing down Mauricio, and Mauricio's pace was honestly pretty good at this point. He was running low 48s, which was about the pace that you want to see from somebody who's not in slipstream. Now, the leader, Ivan, you can see in the top left, is running 48 flats and 47s with no slip, which is really the optimal pace, but low 48s is not bad. On to lap number 9. Mauricio, no surprise, turn 1, going to continue to abuse it. Not as much this time, but anything helps when you have no slipstream. And this created a situation where Cameron was basically never getting backed up by Mauricio, at least into the bus stop. So Austin was not getting thrown back towards me, and I wasn't being very aggressive towards Austin. So unless, you know, my plan was for something to happen that threw him into the jaws of my car and I could overtake him. He does go super deep here, but even this, you can see I'm being extremely passive, waiting to get on throttle. I wanted Cameron to fight Mauricio. That was my game plan here, and eventually it started looking like it was happening. Mauricio taking an extremely defensive line through turn 7, but with the temperatures of this track, you could not make that work around the outside, so Cameron is still left behind. Mauricio is now defending into turn 8, and it would just continue like this, where Cameron was never really looking to make it too wide around the outside, so he was kind of just continuing to sit behind him, and I think Cameron's play was to wait until it was so late in the race that nobody else could look to make a move back on him, which was smart. It disallows my plan from ever unfolding. He's making sure that no mayhem happens. He's kind of doing exactly what I was doing earlier between Mauricio and Cameron when they were in front and behind me. However, it looks like he's going to have a really good attempt on this lap. This is 10 of 14, so the laps are winding down, and I am also really close to Austin at this point. I haven't even attempted a move on him in this race yet, but he pulls to the outside, Cameron pulls the outside ahead, and nothing happens. It looked like there was going to be two separate events happening, but literally nothing happened. Everybody stays in a straight line, and I hit a sick four-wheel jump over the third apex of the bus stop, which is the best way to take the bus stop, in my opinion, the most fun. It's also not a slow way to take it. Like, I think it's just cool. And interesting moment coming up here as Austin is super close to Cameron, and it's hard to see from this angle, but I broke really early because Austin broke really early. And if we take a look back at that, I believe that the only reason he broke early was because he was so close to Cameron, and he wants to be a little bit passive right now. We are all on the same game plan of looking to make a move late enough in the race that nobody can fire back. But what I took out of that is that if Cameron is close enough to Austin, he's going to break early, opening up the inside for myself. Now, we all have slowed down quite a bit, which allowed Jonathan Newman to catch up behind. So he is now 2/10 behind me. If I am going to make a move, it would be optimal to do that pretty soon, because I may be under fire from Jonathan if I don't do that. And I think I broke early there, but I still almost kind of got backed up by Austin, who I think broke early because Cameron broke a little early. We were all trying to fight for space ahead of us. We wanted to have like 3 or 4 tenths a gap ahead of us, so we're all kind of trying to back up that car behind, get enough space so that we're able to actively look to make a move into the bus stop or along one of these long straights. Now, I get a really, really bad run through the penultimate corner, which isn't a bad thing because it opens up, like I said, a lot of space ahead of me, so I should not be slowed down by Austin on this next lap as we run up to the bus stop. And sure enough, I'm not. That'll keep me safe from the car behind. Cameron is in the position to make a move, but he ends up backing out of it into the bus stop once again. That's going to back up Austin a little bit, which creates this situation exactly like last lap, where Cameron is close enough to Austin, and I know that Austin is going to brake early into this next corner if Cameron is too close to him, and they're only about a tenth apart. So boom, I'm going to go ahead and send it early, and sure enough, they all brake early, which allows me to try and crack something open here as we go on the inside through turn 6, heading into turn 7. That gives us the outside. Unless we find a way to move ourselves to the inside, I don't think we're getting this done in the corner. So looking for possibly a good run out and making a move into the next corner. Don't quite get the run we were looking for. I don't think shifting down to second for that was the move. It opens up a big gap between Austin and Cameron, so Cameron is now able to attack Mauricio. I'm flashing my lights at Austin. I did not mean to do that. I was trying to use my windshield wipers. Sorry about that, Austin. I just stopped trying to find my windshield wipers because I started clicking all the buttons on my wheel for just a second, and then I got really worried that I would accidentally hit the pit limiter, which I didn't know where it was. I didn't know where anything was on my wheel, so I just stopped clicking stuff and accepted that I was going to have a really dirty windshield. Mauricio is still at the helm of this pack, which has extended to like 9 cars now, from P2 to P10 or P2 to P9, somewhere around there, and it's bound to happen, right? Something is bound to happen. Nothing has happened still. It's lap 12, Cameron continuing to chase down Mauricio, and there he is. He's gonna get on throttle, do it again, just ride all of the way out, right to the edge of where you would get a slowdown, and that's gonna gain him enough time once again so that Cameron can't really do anything into the bus stop, which I think at this point, honestly, Cameron, it was almost giving Cameron an advantage, because if Cameron were to catch him, it would slow them down enough to open up an opportunity for Austin and myself to make a move. Now, Zhao, that guy from earlier, is only 2 cars behind us. That was the car in P3 who got into an accident with Matthew. So I knew that if he got behind me, he would be looking to make a move, and he would be pretty aggressive. It's lap 13 of 14. There's still a car between myself and Zhao behind, so I'm not too worried about that. But I was definitely starting to feel a little bit of pressure. I was really praying that Cameron would make a move, or would something would stick up ahead and could open up for myself. They're all on the inside. I'm going to play it really passive. I don't want to make a move right now. I'm still waiting for the last lap. I do get a horrible, horrible run through the bus stop, but it doesn't really matter. I wasn't under enough pressure for it to make any type of difference. Jonathan is right on my tail right now, but I have enough space ahead of me that I should be able to take the racing line and brake really late into this next corner and keep my pace up, which I am able to do. And we continue in the same order. Somebody do something, please. I guess you can't really ask for somebody to do something if you are not doing anything, but that is exactly what I was doing this race. Small slide through T7 as we exited, and it looked like Mauricio had a bit of the same there as he slid off of the track, killing his run, possibly opening something up for Cameron. Not quite. Cameron was he was doing really well at managing the gap. So he's keeping Mauricio ahead and keeping Austin behind. Very, very nicely, and he's trying to set himself up for a last lap move, I believe, which is very quickly approaching. I don't know how many incident points Mauricio has right now because he's been driving off the track constantly, but I was hoping that they were pretty high and that it would stop him from driving off the track again, or it would stop him from trying to abuse the system. And through T1, he's going to do the same thing. He just continues to do the same thing. But even still, Cameron got a really good run through there, so he's only 2/10 behind. And as they go into the bus stop, this has got to be it. This is Cameron's last chance to try and make a move. I've got my fingers crossed. I've got 3/10 behind and 3/10 ahead. My gap is perfect. They are so close up ahead, and Mauricio all of the way on the inside defending, and he actually brakes late, misses the corner completely, cuts the bus stop. I'm hoping that gives us at least one free position, but he ends up trying to serve the slowdown on the racing line, so he is backing everybody up, which you are not allowed to do. This is not okay. He's literally backing up the entire field, and it's gonna create mayhem. Cameron's right behind him, and I know that Cameron's gonna get boxed in, so I go to the outside of Cameron. I know that Mauricio still has that slowdown because I had that slowdown earlier, so we're 2x2 through turn 6. I'm on the outside in that second row, and I'm side by side with Cameron trying to push. This gives me the inside for turn 7, which I think is advantageous, but I'm being attacked by car number 7 behind, so I stop moving out, which gives me a narrow entry into T7, which is going to give me a really bad exit, but thankfully the temperature was just so hot that on the outside for Cameron, he's really going to be struggling. Even with the slide, I'm able to just about stay alongside with him. He's trying to follow those cars ahead and drive into me, but I am not moving from my line. I'm staying on the inside into the braking zone of turn 8, and I have to leave it all on the table. We have the inside, and I'm going to play a little bit of bully ball here as we make contact with Cameron. There was a lot of space for him on the outside still to use, but once I realized that contact kind of pushed him to the point to where I could stay ahead of him, I take the inside line for the next corner, which should give me a pretty big advantage around here, and he does really well to stay around the outside. We eventually find enough space to slide ahead of him and claim that position fully for ourselves. However, through the penultimate corner, I'm not going to get the best run. Cameron gets on throttle actually quite a bit earlier than me. At this point, my goal is to avoid him from executing a switchback, so I'm staying on the inside. He does look for the switchback, and I park it on the apex, killing his momentum, and that should just about do it as we run up to the line. Holy shit, what a last lap. Like, everything got cracked open there. We only gained one position, crossing in P4, but it felt so good. It was a really good feeling P4. That race as a whole, it felt like a real race. Cameron showing some displeasure towards Mauricio there. Here are the results, and man, even though not a lot happened, some people would say that this was a boring race. If they watched a live race, they'd be like, oh, that race was a snooze fest. But I love races like this. There was so much going on, these little calculations and trying to manage gaps and set yourself up for future moves. I love iRacing. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more or support me, click on the link in the description, the video on your screen, and subscribe.